Join us each Saturday for the Justice is Here podcast, an innovative, revolutionary podcast that speaks to justice for all party members across America. We'll speak to leadership, we'll speak to activists, and most of all, we want to hear your opinion. So if you're tired of the two-party system and how it doesn't work for you, tune into this podcast to learn how we can take back the justice that we deserve. Thank you. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 16th episode. It has been 16 episodes of the Justice is Here podcast. I am so happy to have my guest again with me. This is their second time being back, and Mark was on here just a couple weeks ago. But hey, I'll recycle guests. When I like them, and I say, hey, you, come back. But we're going to talk a whole lot about the Justice for All Party, where we're at, what we're doing. You'll get plenty of updates. I've got a ton of bills to pay before we get started. Let's get them started. First off, we invite you all to visit the Justice for All Party website at justiceforall.us. Justiceforall.us. One more time, that is justiceforall.us. Learn about our platform, our mission. You can also donate. Subscribe to this channel. We have 368. We're almost at 370. Everybody knows the goal. The goal is 1,000 by December. We're getting there, but I want it faster. So just hit that subscribe button, smash it, obliterate it, destroy it. Please subscribe. Whenever I figure out how to work TikTok, the Justice is Here podcast has a TikTok. You can follow us there. You can definitely follow us on Blue Sky, because that's like Twitter, but without the racism. So you can definitely go to you can definitely go to Blue Sky and see the podcast on there. Instagram, the Justice for Here podcast is on there. You can also join my mailing list. This is for my webpage. I do have a mailing list. I do a newsletter that comes out once a month. You can join that. And we're going to do
I'm going to sit down in just a minute.
Okay, G, I'm doing announcements, so we'll see when see. Okay. Got some more coming up. Oh, everybody that's got a piece of paper and a pencil, here's what I want you to do. Get out a sheet of paper and mark this day on your calendars right now, today. August the 30th, there is going to be a fundraiser-a-thon for the Justice for All Party. There is a fundraiser for the Justice for All Party that I will be hosting on this channel, August the 30th. It will be at 7, I think it's going to be at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you sing, dance, paint, do stand-up comic, and you're in the Justice for All Party, trust and believe I will be making contact with you, because we need talent for that day. But we will start I said 7. It's actually 6 o'clock. It's going to be, I'm gearing up for a 3-hour show. So I'm preparing myself. Mark this. I'm leaving it up here on purpose. Mark this date down. Mark it down. August the 30th, 6 o'clock p.m., the Justice for All Fundraising-A-Thon. We'll have music, trivia, me, some other people, we hope. But if you want to see me for 3 hours, you'll get to see me for 3 hours. But I'm leaving it up here. Our goal is to raise $25,000. And I'm going to get a little bit into what we're exactly going to do with that $25,000. So those are all the announcements. Of course, help us to get 50 likes and 35 shares. That helps us to get the message to everyone. If you're watching, please comment. Comment. And yeah, we'll do it that way. Then please comment. That helps us to get into the algorithm. Gentlemen, how are you doing this evening? Not everybody at once.
I'm doing great. It's so good to be here with you again, Tracy. I really value your work and your leadership in this movement. I feel like your name was a name that I heard from the very get-go. Like the moment I got involved in campaigning for Cornell West, I was like, "Who's Tracy Carson?" Because I hear that name, I hear that name. So like to be able to jump on this podcast with you is like always a delight.
See, I don't have $20 you keep giving people. Stop. Don't do that. And I'm gonna cry. Like, don't do that. Mark, how are you doing?
I am doing well. It's been a busy week as usual. I've rushed back home from. I had intended to do this from work, but I forgot my headphones. And last time I was on, I was a little quiet on the whole microphone from my laptop, so I rushed home to do this from the mutual aid work that I had been doing that I usually do on Saturdays. It's been nice. No offense to my JFA comrades, but it's been nice not meeting every Saturday so that I can resume some of the mutual aid work I normally
tell
do.
Me about it. Oh my goodness. I thought I was the only one that felt like that. I'm like, oh my. But we're going right back. And we got a first timer in the house. Gia, how are you doing, ma'am? We can't hear you.
Oh, are you talking to me?
Yes, ma'am, we're talking to you.
Hi, I am good. I'm good. I also am in the middle of a few things right now, but of course I want to make time to connect. I feel like this is very important. So, I've been part of this for like 3-4 months now. I'm pretty new to it. And yeah, I'm based in New York, so I'm really curious to learn about the different structures and just talk about, whatever comes up today.
We're going to have a very interesting discussion. As I said tonight, on tonight, I'm not at church. Tonight, we are going to talk about where the Justice Party has come to, where we're going, and we're going to talk about a whole bunch of good stuff. But I want to start it off as a foundational because I believe in laying a good foundation. I think the Justice for All Party is needed. And I know people say, oh, you got the Green Party, you got PSL, and you got the Socialists and blah, blah, blah. I think, the more parties, the better. What need is it that you all believe that the Justice for All Party can meet right now? Like, if you were going to say one thing, what would you say the Justice for All Party in my state or nationally needs to meet this specific need?
I guess unity and collaboration. More collaboration between different local organizations.
And Mark and Joe, you guys can jump in anytime you feel like you're ready. Go ahead, Mark. I'm sorry.
No, I agree. I feel like just a party that will get people involved. Like we need more people involved in the political process. We need more people who are willing to step forward. And if Justice for All will motivate people and get them involved, then I think that's what we primarily need is efforts that will get people to step up and participate.
Now, I want to go ahead, Joel. I'm sorry, because I got a follow-up question I got to ask Mark because I just thought of something.
Well, I agree with everything that's been said so far, and I think we live in a moment where there's a lot of disillusionment with the Democratic Party, disillusionment with the electoral process, disillusionment with the United States, because of its imperialistic actions around the world, but most noticeably in Gaza right now. And I think people are just really disillusioned with political platforms that they once thought represented them. I have many conversations in Madison, Wisconsin, where I live, with people who identify as liberals and would have historically defended the Democratic Party, would have historically called that their home. And then coming out of the end of 4 years of Joe Biden, Genocide Joe, coming out of the 4 years of a party that cannot take seriously the humanity and dignity of Palestinians, people are disillusioned. And then on top of that, I mean, just like think about the rise of BLM in 2013. There's been tons of activism, tons of mobilization for racial justice in this country, and the Democrats have not delivered. They just have not delivered, and they can't deliver because they're a party that is committed to vulture capitalism. They're a party that's committed to U.S. imperialism. They're a party that is committed to the status quo and tries to put cushions around that status quo. That's maybe what they do better than Republicans. They will try to put certain cushions around the capitalist machine that drains people of their dignity, that drains workers of their rights, but they ultimately cannot deliver what people need. And people have vital needs for all sorts of things that the Democratic Party is not providing. So to answer your question, Tracy, I think that what our party provides in this really pivotal political moment is a new home and something that speaks to the heart, speaks to the disillusionment that people are feeling. Like we have a critique of the system that speaks to what people are feeling. We can tell them that this system is rigged against the poor, it's rigged against the working class, and we're not afraid to call out capitalism. We're not afraid to call out US imperialism, to call out white supremacy, and we're not going to play the sort of liberal woke politics game, the shallow woke politics game of the Democratic Party. We're actually going to have substantive solutions, including reparation and policies that uplift the poor and working class. So I think that we're providing an opportunity for people to find a home that, like, when they get through that door, they're going to be like, this is what I was looking for all along.
Joel, if I was in church, which I go to tomorrow, I would be like, boy, you better preach that. Tell that again for the people in the back. Oh my goodness, you were so right about that. I want to talk about, and I said, Mark, I had a question, but I'm going to hold it because you're saying something. You said something about organizing, and I'll go ahead and ask it now. I'm always confused, and everybody's opinion is welcome in this, but since Mark used the word organizing, what does it mean to organize? What does it actually mean? Does it mean just I'm gonna talk about my issue? I'm gonna I'm just gonna do what does organizing mean?
I love the question. Actually, I'm working on starting an entity that is to help train people to be better organizers. I do community organizing, political organizing, and labor organizing. And I would say across the board, organizing is building the relationships needed for a community to make changes successfully. If you want to talk really big picture organizing, it is sure you want to talk to people, you want to get people involved, but it's about building the relationships needed to successfully make change.
And what about you, Joel? Because I'm still kind of like, I'm sort of want to be there, but it's just like my mind is like, it seems like it's a big thing, right?
Yeah, it is a big thing, but it's also an exciting thing. And I think, I mean, Mark, I'm super excited to learn from your experience and learn from your skill on that. But I think that I've never been more energized than when I get plugged into organizing spaces. I think about this quote by Kwame Ture. So it goes like this: "You vote once in 4 years, and that's your political responsibility." He asks sort of rhetorically. He said, "That's the height of bourgeois propaganda, making the people politically irresponsible, thinking the responsibility is limited to a one-day vote. Politics is every day." And so I just keep going back to this quote that politics is every day. And I think when I was part of the political mainstream, I didn't think of it that way. I thought like, okay, maybe having like debates with my friends and with strangers on social media was a way to stay political. But really, like, I thought of politics as the thing that happens every 4 years when you go to vote for your presidential candidate, maybe the thing that happens every 2 years when you go to vote in like other elections. But I think since becoming part of progressive movements and leftist movements and labor movements, I've been energized by a reality that's fundamentally different than that. And that's the reality that politics is every day. So I get energy from organizing. It is tiring. Like I think that even what I'm saying sounds maybe a little bit like a privileged thing to be saying. And I think that there are people who have been organizing their whole lives and they've been organizing against a lot of repression. And I see fatigue. Like I see that fatigue, I see the beleaguerment, and I've experienced it myself. But there's something powerful about being in community and building at the grassroots level, which is something that our party is trying to do, right? Like we're trying to be a hyper local grassroots movement, building power from below. Like I think this is like language that our movement needs to like adopt, is like we're building power not from above but from below. It's power that comes from labor, comes from the poor and the working class. And I find that stuff really energizing, but it is tiring at the same time. And I'd be curious to know how Tracy, how do you like recover and like find rest in the midst of building a party?
I sleep a lot. Because when I think of organizing, I think of this great, big, huge thing, and I'm always will use this as an example. I had the task, the chore, or whatever you want to call it, of organizing a Medicare for All march in Indiana. Because I was like, they did the first one, and I'm like, okay, why is there no march in our state? And then I said, oh, I guess it's up to me to do it. I didn't purposely in my mind say, oh, I'm an organizer. But then I realized that's what an organizer does. They see the need and then they respond to it. And that's what I want everybody to get is we see a need and we're responding to it.
Yeah. And I think too that there's a real need in this moment to kind of build the skills for that. And I think, work that you've done, work that Mark has done, that Gia's done, like we need to take those skills and replicate them across our movement. And I think that, there's this quote that I often go back to, this, I don't know if you saw this during what was the series of protests and rallies that happened like a month or so ago. It was like everyone standing against all the hands off rallies. Yeah. And there's this picture of some of the posters that people were holding at these rallies that it's like going viral. And it's this poster that says, if Kamala had won, we would all be out for brunch right now. As if to imply like, if the Democrats had just won, we would be like doing life as normal.
Yeah, we'd be okay and sipping tea and
I think that just reveals where we're at in this political moment, is that like there are people who have been indoctrinated into a way of thinking about politics that does not recognize the system that's rigged, that does not recognize the need for ongoing mobilizing and organizing. But I do think that like that's going to be a key feature of our movement in the Trump era and then in eras to come, like whether it's a Democratic president or a Republican president, we've got to be building power from the grassroots level. And like it can be simple too. Like, sometimes we think about like organizing marches, organizing labor strikes, and that can all be really demanding. But let me give you an example of very simple organizing. So ICE has been targeting a lot of international students, targeting pro-Palestinian protesters who are international students, and just targeting a lot of people from the global South. And so what a lot of communities are doing in the wake of this is finding ways to organize. And at a minimum, that just means like people have been having these meetings to figure out like if ICE shows up in our neighborhood, how do we have rapid response? What are we going to do? How are we going to mobilize? What channels of communication are we going to use? Who are the people who are vulnerable and have something at stake in this? All those questions, meeting to talk about that and figure out action plans, that is part of organizing. And so me and a friend at the University of Wisconsin, I probably should be a little cryptic about this. Some people I know at a university, taking these things very seriously, decided like, we're not going to wait for our department to do something about this, to take care of its international students. People decided to organize on their own, and a bunch of grad students just got together and started having a series of meetings to sort of anticipate the presence of ICE on campus, to figure out what needed to happen. Those group of students, which I may or may not have been a part of, wrote a petition to the department chair saying, will you commit to keeping students in the program if they're deported or targeted by ICE? Because the department had said nothing about that. But like, these are things that you can do, is like organize, mobilize together, and start making demands of the people in power, start agitating for change. So it doesn't have to be a big rally or a big, strike. It can be something as simple as moving in your workplace to get people ready for action plans. Because the reality is, like, the system, like the powerful, the elites, they're not going to protect us. They're not going to protect us. We protect us. And at least that's what I'm learning from communities of color, from people who have been organizing their whole lives, is like, we have to build power from the bottom up. And it can happen in your workplace, in your church, it can happen in smaller spaces as well as bigger spaces.
Yeah. And and I'll start with Gia, then Mark, then Joel. I want to talk about our experience in serving on the committee. And I'm going to start off with me first. I was really hesitant because the day of the election, way back in 2024, I woke up, I don't know what I was smoking. I thought America was just going to have enough of this, and we were going to get our first independent president, and we was about to say, hey, that's what's up. And then I woke up election day, and I realized, oh, this is not going to happen. We're going to fall into the same trap of voting for the lesser of two evils. And then I became very depressed. And when I interviewed Dr. West for the third time, but this was the second time I interviewed him, he said something that was very profound to me, is that this is a moment in a movement. And that's kind of stuck with me. And I don't know how you guys saw it after election. I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to roll it up. I've done everything I can. You all know that this podcast shouldn't have even existed, because after the first one, I was like, I'm done. I've done everything I can do. People will just get what they get. And then it was like something clicked in my head that said, if I don't do something, then who will? Now, have I always had a joy is, hey, let's go square. Well, no, square dancing is considered racist. Let's all just go clubbing afterwards. No, but to do that necessary work to build something, strategy has to take place. Planning has to take place, although some people say that strategy is a little bit different to me. Serving on the committee has really opened up my mind to, I can do something in Indiana. Instead of thinking about this big picture presidential election thing, I can do something local. I can go protest that we're building more high-rise apartments that nobody can afford. I can talk about why homelessness is running rampant. What is it that you all have learned about being a part of this committee that you didn't know before? And again, I'll start with Gia.
I would say just the process of running a campaign is very intense, and there's a lot of things that are needed, and preparation is really important, and that's why we need more collaboration and unity, because when you see people on the street like canvassing and campaigning, trying to get their politicians on the ballot in their local elections, you realize like this is the work, and it can really make or break a campaign. So having support early on really does make a big difference. So I guess that's what I've learned. just like the timing of the election and the timing of your volunteers, and everybody needs to sort of be on board with how this process is going to unfold and like what the strategy is for it.
Okay, I don't remember whether I said Mark first and then Joel, but you guys can do rock, paper, scissors. It doesn't matter to me.
Okay, I think Joel's telling me to go. I honestly, I don't think there was a whole lot of surprises for me. It's not my first It was not my first campaign. This is not the first party I've worked on helping start. I knew it was going to be a long slog. By the time we got to the election, Dr. West didn't have the ballot access to win, so that was not a surprise to me. The surprise was that, frankly, that people had the wherewithal to move forward and keep trying to start a party, because it's hard work. It is hard work to start a party. People don't even really understand what parties are in the United States for the most part. They feel like it's just a candidate or a platform or a set of policies, and it's hard to start. If you recall, we had a lot of people throughout the steering committee process who just want to get busy, get working in their states, get some candidates together. And that's great. That is important. That is the work, honestly, because a party in its final analysis is a nonprofit that successfully gets candidates on the ballot. And if that's not what you're doing, you're not really doing party work. So the big surprise for me was that there was so many people who were willing to show up week after week for months, going through charters and bylaws. And I like that stuff. I'm sort of a weirdo that I enjoy digging through the intricacies of the rules and trying to figure out how to craft a thing that's going to help us get to where we want to be. But a lot of people aren't, and that people are willing to step up and do that work and get us to the point where we are, where we've got an approved charter, approved bylaws, and we're ready to start building committees that are going to help people do the same thing in their state and help people find the candidates so that we can do the preparation Gia was talking about. Like Dr. West was sort of come from behind and didn't have the infrastructure needed to get to a place where he could have won. And so we're starting now. We got 4 years to build state parties, to build the infrastructure, to get people to know who the Justice for All Party is, and to build that position to try to be more successful at it next time.
One correction, though, we have 2 years because we have midterms.
There are midterms. There are elections happening this year. So
there's a reason I mentioned that, though, because for those that don't know, the federal government, which I forget what agency they're called, you have to have so many candidates run before the government says, oh, you're a party. And that's why I mentioned midterms, because those will be before the presidential election. That's the only reason I mentioned it. And Joel.
Yeah, please.
Mark, you don't know how happy I am to hear you say that you love the structure building, the charter, the bylaws, all the formalities, because it looks like a complete headache. And I've been to a number of these steering committee meetings, and they're challenging. They really are. Like, it is, like, I'm new to all this, right? So like, Mark, you're not surprised by any of it, but like, it's all totally novel to me. So to just hear people hammering out very small details, it can be really astonishing, but it makes sense. Like, it makes sense that we have to build from the ground up. And like, yeah, Mark has just been doing an incredible job building a lot of the sort of like formalities and attending to the details of the charter and the bylaws. He's already answered a bunch of questions that I've had about that. But I think what I was surprised by, and it's a good kind of surprise, like it's a positive thing, I was surprised by the the kind of like collective wisdom. It's not that I didn't expect that, but I think when I came away from these meetings, I had this realization that there was something really profound about our group. Like, we have people who have spent decades doing organizing, people who have come out of, say, like the Green Party or other progressive movements, people who have maybe done work within the Democratic Party and are now like leaving that. And then we have people who, haven't done much at all, and then people in between, people who have protested the Gulf War, people who canvassed for Obama. Like I know someone who, like in their early years of political activism, like canvassed for Obama, and now they're canvassing for Cornel West. And there's just this like immense diversity of people, and it's been interesting to see the wisdom that comes out of that. The wisdom, but also like the caution. And I think there's a lot of conversation about like how fast should we be moving to finally get the national party inaugurated, to finally just seat the committees and get like the charter and the bylaws finally out there. And everyone has different opinions about how fast we should be moving, but like I think it makes sense how like what our pace is, because we are people deeply concerned about building an egalitarian, just system. Like, and I think that's what's been really, really astonishing and wonderful to see. It's like there's no one in this movement who is sort of like lackadaisical about this or is like kind of flippant. Like there's this immense sense of like there's this sense that this is very precious and it's something that needs to be built very carefully. And I've loved seeing that. I've benefited from that. And yes, we've all pulled our hair out at times, but there's something beautiful about the process.
I each of you have really, really educated me, because I felt like I was coming in with the least amount of knowledge. I felt like, okay, I'm here. All I do is this little podcast. I mean, what is it? That's all I do. That's all I was there for. And I really now feel like, oh, beyond the podcast, which, by the way, I am going to talk a little bit about what this podcast is going to be, because somehow it became the official, unofficial podcast of the Justice for All Party. I don't know when that happened. It's unofficial, but it's kind of official at the same time. So my mind was always, oh, well, how do I promote the party? How do I promote the party? I didn't even think about the work, right? I didn't think about looking at the bylaws and looking at the structure and the committee. I thought about none of that. My number one goal going in was, how am I going to promote this podcast to get other people involved? And maybe that's probably not a great thing, but I'm glad that I stuck with it, because now I know, oh, you've got to build. You've got to build a foundation, because without the foundation, the building crumbles. If we don't have a foundation, we're going to be like the Working Party, the Patriot Party, the Pirate Party. And yes, there is a Pirate Party. There is literally a Pirate Party. The rent's too darn high party. And now it's like, oh, I get all the pieces. Like they're all coming together. Like the committees. Now, I don't know if you all want to say which committees that you signed up for, but I want to go to comments first, and then I'm going to come back. I'm going to go to comments because we do have some, and then I'll go to my next question. So, Liberate Software and see, Pete, these words on here I can't get. Healing Philosophy says, hey, just wanted to tune in for a minute here before I head home. I stopped in for energy drink and saw your message, Tracy. Thank you for responding. Here's one I want to ask. Also says, I am worried the party is going to split off in some ways because we are so independently minded that we fail to see how we are on the same page in a lot of ways. Just my 2 cents. Now, I kind of disagree with that statement, because, and maybe that's just me. I'm like, no, we can work together. How do you all feel about that statement? Do you think that's a worry, or do you just think I'm smoking something that probably needs to be illegal?
I guess I'll jump in. I don't think it's a worry yet. but I think it will be a worry. That's one of the things. We don't have this for the credentials committee yet. The credentials committee is just about who gets to attend and who is the people at the convention that you're going to help organize, Tracy. But don't worry, you've got a year before we have our first National Assembly. But there will be, as we grow, there will be, like, the Credentials Committee should also have in its purview setting what are the standards for state and or regional parties to be recognized. So because when you have a lot of people who care very deeply about a thing and have differing opinions, you can get into a situation where you have two strong personalities or two groups of strong personalities that have differing opinions, and they get in a fight and they decide, well, I'm going to go start my own chapter. And now you've got it. It's happened for many of minor parties. The Libertarians have had it happen. The Greens have had it happen, where you have competing groups in a single state that both say they are the Green Party or they are the Libertarian Party in X state. And so you need to have a committee that is going to say, well, here is how we define the party, and we recognize you, Group A, instead of you, Group B. So yeah. I don't think what's going to happen. I don't think we have to worry about it yet, but it will happen almost certainly.
Because there's this thing called personality. And of course, you also have FBI infiltration, but I'm not even going to go to that part. I don't even want to talk about that part. I want to go to the next comment. Topius, I promise your t-shirt is on the way. That is good to be intentional. Does the Justice for All have a plan for a constitutional convention? Yeah, I guess this question is going to fall to me. Feel like it's important because I think the Constitution is flawed. I think it's trash. Personally, I've said it. I don't care. People can say, well, it's got some good points. Any document that says it takes 3/5 of a person is not good to me. I'm not sorry about that. But yes, as Mark stated, I am on the convention committee. Yay! That means that me and whoever else wants to work with me will be in charge of putting on a convention. And what is the purpose of the convention? To nominate candidates, specifically President of the United States. But again, that's what we're doing. And hello, Nelson. How are you doing? Revolution is split with Federalists and anti-Federalists. It happens. I mean, the Democrat Republicans, well, no, they used to be one party, then they were separate, and now they're back together because they literally are the same party. Like, if you think about it, did they really split? Like, you have the Republicans who abolished slavery, advocated for Voters' Rights Act. Then you had the Democrats that were more racist, but now they're like the same thing. So I'm going to move.
If I could ask a question of Gia real quick.
Yes, go ahead.
Because Gia, you've hopped into the email thread, but I haven't seen which committee you are interested in volunteering for.
That's a good question.
That's a good question. I mean, like I said, right now I'm in a period of transition where I just started a job and it's harder for me to come to the meetings as we meet on Saturdays. Yeah, I do get that. Every meeting counts, so I want to be able to do a good job. So I don't really want to say yes to something that I might not have the capacity to really carry, because I'm part of the JFA education as well, which is fine with my schedule, and the steering committee is okay. But taking on another thing might be a little bit hard for me right now. But Tracy, this convention committee sounds very fun, and I'm very excited to see where you take things, and I'm going to read through everything again and see if there's something that sticks out to me. But for right now, I don't know what I have the capacity for. But education is definitely something that always like resonates with me. Storytelling. So yeah.
And Mark, since you said what committee G is on, I forgot which one that you said you wanted to be a part of.
I am interested in serving on both the Rules Committee and the Credentials Committee. And I, did indicate that I would be willing to serve as an officer, but to be completely honest, like Gia, I don't have a ton of capacity. I hope that as we move to these committee meetings, that first of all, they're not on Saturdays, whichever committee I join on, because I also have other commitments on Saturdays that I have been letting go by the wayside most of this year so I could sit on the steering committee.
And hence they're on a show that comes on Saturdays. That's how special I am.
I hope someone else steps up and is nominated to be an officer. I would gladly step away. I don't feel any need to sit as an officer and on the executive committee. I would rather other people step up for that. And I would be happy sitting on just one or two committees that hopefully will meet some weekday evening when I could, after work, sit in. And maybe not weekly, maybe every other week, maybe once a month.
Yeah.
Yep, that's a good idea. And Joel, what committee did I? Because see, I forget because it's so many email threads going. I'm like, what?
Yeah. So, for those who are maybe tuning in and aren't as familiar with the different committees, so we're basically trying to put in place what are called these standing committees to sort of help with the structure and functioning of the party. And so there's like a finance committee, there's a rules committee, credentials, convention, and then a platform committee. And I'm particularly interested in the platform committee. I think one of the things that really attracted me to this movement was its political platform, its policy platform, the things it stood for. And I think what we've inherited from Dr. West and Dr. Abdullah is this conception of leftist progressive politics that's rooted in truth, justice, and love. And I don't really see that sort of political ethos replicated in other spaces. And so I would love to continue that tradition, to continue to build on the Black radical tradition, to continue to build on the best of progressive and leftist movements, critiques of exploitative capitalism, the need for meeting people's basic needs. And I think that, often there are two things that I think make an organization come alive, especially political organizations. One is just the culture of the people. And I think we have amazing people. I think we have people who are deeply passionate about justice and committed to creating an egalitarian culture. And I think this speaks to Tobias's question. Sorry if I got your name wrong, but just like, are we going to splinter? I don't have the experience or wisdom that Mark has on this, but like what I see right now is like, I don't see people who are interested in like doing their own thing. I see people who really want to build something together and understand the importance of building power together. So I think we have a really cool culture that's being built. But the other thing that like attracts people to political organizations is like the platform that organization stands for. So I'm very interested in being on a committee that's going to be talking about the platform of the movement and trying as best we can to keep that platform rooted in the best of Black radical tradition, intersectional analysis of justice, and kind of drawing on the wells of political philosophy and political analysis that have been handed to us by marginalized people and people who have been thinking about justice in the space of empire. So, yeah.
And here is a very unusual question that I have never asked anybody before. Why did you agree to be on this podcast? I have never asked that before. I've just been asking people to appear, but I'm interested. I want to hear from everybody. Why is it that you said, yes, I'll be on this podcast?
Yes. For me, I really like Cornell West's mission and statement surrounding like the truth, love, justice. I think those words are very powerful and they represent very important things. And I think that was one of the main reasons why I was drawn to his campaign, like as an intellectual, as somebody who like has a platform, as an educator. I think he stands for really incredible things, and I'm really proud of the work that he's doing, and I feel like I've always kind of been interested in learning more about it, especially like, the radical history that Joel was talking about of activism and like keeping that spirit alive in the modern society. I think is really important. And every time I hear him like on your podcast even, I'm always like very inspired because I feel like he really does like to speak the truth. And I guess the last thing I wanted to say is that I think this is a really important time to uplift smaller platforms. Like, not saying that he has a small platform because I think he has a very large platform, but I think sometimes we overestimate the scale of things or underestimate the scale of things. And we think that one person or a few people is enough. But really, when we build movements, we really need everybody who is passionate about these issues to show up. So that's why I wanted to show up, because it's not about Cornell West doing the work by himself, but about me like lending myself to something like historical and like bigger than myself, because we're living in a time that's very crucial and it's always been important. So hopefully this will be a time that we get to learn from each other about how we can move forward rather than relying on systems to work, and just trusting that everything is like the way it is and there's nothing we can do about it. Like, putting yourself in a position to actually participate shows you how much work really needs to be done. And if you're not willing to do it and I'm not willing to do it, then it's just not going to get done. And if the work doesn't get done, then we don't progress and we don't have platforms to continue to do this work. So I think that's why amplifying this platform, something that's already been built, is much easier than me starting something on my own, because you can always like try to reinvent the wheel, but sometimes it's better to just join along and use the resources that are already there rather than trying to like recreate something that's already happening. And this is something that's happening and he's already built it, and we can just continue to feed into it and learn from this process of working together.
Any of our male guests want to say why they thought, hey, I'll be on that little podcast with that gray-haired black lady?
Well, my answer is not particularly exciting, Tracy. I agreed to come on a couple of times out of solidarity with you. I had a buddy of mine who talked me into trying to run a podcast, and I understand how tough it can be to do guests, and I certainly never had the wherewithal to actually do it weekly like you do. So, you have kudos from me and my respect. And so when you needed a guest, I wanted to step up and do that for you.
Yeah, I feel like there's definitely some of that going on as well. Like I really value your work, Tracy, and feel honored to like be invited on here to just say a bunch of nonsense. But I think something that Gia said is really, really profound. Like if I don't do the work, if you don't do the work, it doesn't get done. And that's actually just to platform you a little bit, Gia. That's something that I feel like you've articulated in other contexts. I've heard you like make this point, and especially just this like idea. I'll just share something you said in another meeting. in the political education meetings we've been having. You talked about how like good team culture requires coming through for each other and like being willing to engage in like mutual support. Um, and I just like I want to practice that. I want to practice that culture. I want to come and support Mark, and I want to support Gia, and I want to support Tracy. Um, I want a movement that is rooted in truth, justice, and love, and not just a movement that's kind of like something on the periphery that I kind of go to and then dip out of. Like I really want to build relationships, and I want to build connections and support the work. So I'm grateful to you, Tracy, for creating space for these connections to happen.
This is the podcast that almost didn't happen. After the campaign, if many of you don't know, there used to be this podcast I did when Dr. West announced that he was going to be a candidate for president. I said, I'm going to do a podcast. I'm going to talk to other people. Congratulations to the 47th president of the United States, Dr. Cornel West. After that, I was like, I'm done. I'm done. Y'all better thank the great people of Arkansas who said, Tracy, you cannot let this go. You can't. I was done. I did not know that a campaign was this hard. I didn't know it took this much. And now I look at, because sometimes I think, this isn't me. Who's out there sitting here saying, you know what I'm going to do my Saturdays? I'm going to watch some lady with some gray hair sit there and talk about a party I have never heard. Who sits there and does that? However, I think this is and I'm getting to a point here. I think it's my way of doing something, right? And each of us on this call has found their own way of doing something. Each of us has a particular talent. Now, anybody can host this podcast. Truly, I'm going to be proposing a guest host for the month of September because I want other people to guest host. And also, I'm probably going to be wanting to be a guest on the own podcast. So somebody's got to interview me. I can't be interviewing myself. That doesn't sound right. But my thing is I want this party to succeed. If I can destroy the Democratic Party, I have accomplished everything that I have came to do. That's my goal. I'm not going to be sitting here they're nice. I'm not. I'm just going to say what I got to say. If I destroy the duopoly, I've done everything that I need to do. The duopoly must die. It is destroying our economy. It's causing wars that don't need to be caused. It's got people in prison that don't need to be there. We're having Medicaid cuts. We're having a party that sits around like, what happened? And then gets mad when you don't vote for them. So if I can, any tool that I have to destroy the duopoly, I'm going to take it. I don't care. One person listens to me, 5 people listen to me. Now I hope to get 1,000 subscribers, and please subscribe. But I'm going to do everything in my power to make the Justice for All party successful, because I think it's dedicated to 2 things: destroying white supremacy, which is very important to me, and not putting America first, because that's putting America in a better spiritual place without being Christian nationalists about it, if that makes any sense.
I kind of want to hear you talk more about that. What do you what do you have in mind?
When you hear America first, you normally hear people, we shouldn't give aid to like foreign countries. I believe in providing aid, humanitarian aid, food, water, clothing, medicine. Those are absolutely things I believe in. Bombs, no, I'm not going to give you money to bomb places. That's just not what I believe in. So I believe in humanitarian aid. That's what and then people think that the money that we're spending for Gaza and Ukraine and Israel should be going towards America, which I agree with. But of course, if you watch my interview on monetary theory, technically we have money enough to do both. But I realize people aren't to that point yet. So that's what I think that the campaign did for me, was like, Dr. West is not exclusionary focus on just international views. He recognizes America's kind of like a messed up place to live. And I appreciate that. And he connects the two very well, because what happens internationally does affect what is going on here in our country. It absolutely does. So that's where I was at.
Yeah, our country is in a very interesting place right now, and it's very difficult to know what the future holds. It's very difficult to know if we should be optimistic or fearful, but I think it's a mixture of both. But I don't think that. I think fear and love are very polar opposites, and I don't think that fear is something that we should encourage, because fear is very stifling and it makes us feel stuck and we don't move forward. And I think that maybe the Democratic Party or the Liberal Party or whatever was stuck in a state of fear for a really long time, and I think that immobilized a lot of us, and I think we lost a lot of time because of that, because people weren't taking action. They were just waiting to see what would happen. Now, I'm not saying this is everybody, because there's a lot of people out there who are creating movements, who have organizations, who are really, really working towards creating something. So long story short, I just wanted to say that I think this is the time to act and take action. So this is why we need more actionable, motivating energies like the Justice for All campaign in our lives, so that we can feel inspired to do something.
And I think that's what I want people to know. That you, person sitting at home, can do something, right? It's more than Trump bad. We know he's bad. Nobody has to tell me that Trump is bad. It's not a news flash. It's not something, oh, just woke up. Oh, he's bad? I didn't know. Yeah, we all know. The Democrat Party is just as bad. Not only that, they created the conditions for Trump to even exist in the first place, but that's a whole different podcast that I won't even get into, because that'll turn into a 3-hour show. But I'm going to say this again. I say it every single show. Stop letting them play in your face. If you think that these two parties, the Democrat, or what I call the Demopubs, the Democrat and Republican Party, have you in mind, you better think again. They're playing in your face. Be a part of a party that actually wants to hear from you. Vote for a Justice for All party candidate. Oh, we're going to have Justice for All party candidates. Trust me, because once they rear their heads, they're going to be right here on this show. Vote for that type of candidate. Stop voting for candidates that will say, oh, well, I'm going to give Israel everything they need, and maybe do some humanitarian things for the Palestinians, and maybe we'll send in some food, and then maybe we won't, and maybe we'll condemn Israel, but then we really won't. Stop that. Stop letting them play in your face. That is what they're doing. Stop it. Don't be scared. Now is not the time to be scared. Now is the time to go to justiceforall.us and learn how you can be a part of the solution. I did not mean to go on that rant. Why did y'all not stop me?
I also just wanted to add that I think a lot of people are grieving right now. Like, there's a lot of people who are like literally, like, aside from fear, I think it's literally just grief, because I do a lot of wellness work and like movement-based work, and I feel like grief can be very like immobilizing as well, because when you feel grief, you start to feel very like emotional and sad and maybe depressed. And we all know when you feel depression, you don't feel like getting up, you don't feel like going out, you don't feel like participating. And I think we've been experiencing a collective grief where there's been so much loss and so much suffering and so much pain happening all the time in the news cycle, in person, COVID, family members. Like, it's touched everybody so deeply and so personally that I think people are literally just what's the word, like frozen
Yeah, that's a good point.
processing this grief.
Yep.
And I think that's where the healing needs to come in as well. It's not just politics, but it's real physical, emotional labor that we are doing as a society collectively to come together and remember like that we're human and that we're processing human emotions together. That this
Yep.
isn't just about what I'm going through, but we're collectively experiencing this thing.
Yep, that's absolutely good. And Nelson is always one that's going to say what I think, but he says it so much better than I can. What we need to understand is when you join and work for Justice for All Party, we are joined part of a family to help and protect humanity from oppression. United we stand, divided we fall. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's, again, you all say things way back. Like I wish I had the communication skills to say what you all are saying, because I always feel like I never feel like I'm saying what I want to say. And Nelson again hit it where it needed to be hit. I'm so direct, I'm not direct, if that's making sense. Like, I'm just like, here it is. I'm going to tell you what I think. I don't care. You don't have to like it, not like it. I'm not going to lose sleep over you, because that's just not what I do. That's
Anyways,
me.
I was going to say, I really appreciate this. And thank you so much for having me on the podcast. I do need to head out, but I'm excited to watch it back and see your next episode. And I'm so happy that I had the chance to be part of this. And I'll see y'all all later in another meeting.
Yeah, May 31st.
Take care. Have a good night.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
You too, Gia. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, what we're going to do is talk about where we're moving at. We're having a big old important meeting May 31st. I don't know what's wrong with your screen, Joe. It looks like you're just like jumping. It's like you're doing a max headroom thing.
Sorry, I have a chair that moves, and I will stop rocking now because I'm sure it's distracting.
Yeah, because it's like you're doing that max headroom thing where it's like you're shaking. I don't know why. But we have a big important meeting coming up May 31st. I don't know which one of you wants to explain what's going to actually happen at that May 31st meeting. But if you want to do rock, scissors, papers, or just say, Tracy, pick somebody.
I think Mark should take that.
I would be happy to. Sure. Yeah. So on May 31st, we have a meeting. It will be the final steering committee meeting and the first meeting of the Justice for All National Committee. So we as a steering committee have dug through and with the help of a lawyer drafted and finalized some bylaws and a charter and some bylaws. And this is sort of part of a bootstrapping process. So first we had the steering committee who worked out these basic rules. And now we're going to have what's called the initial Justice for All National Committee, where the steering committee is going to disband and those people who are interested are going to be seated as the first JFA National Committee. And they will be inviting some other volunteers from the campaign to also join them. So on the 31st will be the very first meeting of the Justice for All National Committee, where they will elect their first initial round of officers. They will seat themselves on those standing committees that Joel mentioned, where we're going to spend the next year doing the work of trying to continue to craft these charter and bylaws. Like we've got a good base, and now we need to try to make them more egalitarian, more inclusive. We need to spend the next year really working out What is it going to mean to have a state party? What if you're in a state where it takes, like New Jersey, where you literally have to sue the state before you could get recognized as a party? Or New York, where it takes 8+ years and you have to get so many votes. Like the establishment and the duopoly has been working every year to make it harder and harder for minor parties to be recognized and to have an actual voice. And so, we're going to start doing that work. Tracy, you don't get off the hook waiting for the convention year, because the convention committee is going to have to work on our first National Assembly. So sometime next summer will be our first National Assembly, where those state and regional parties and potentially caucuses, if we go that direction, I hope we do, will send their delegates, and we will then elect the first permanent national committee. Like, we're still an interim body, the body that will be seated on the 31st. It's the first national committee. It's the initial national committee, but that's just the group of people who are going to spend the next year hammering things out and trying to start the state parties, trying to start the regional parties, trying to give people the chance to participate and to be represented. And in 2026, we will have our first National Assembly, where the states will send people together to have a big national meeting, and they will elect the first permanent leadership, the first permanent officers, and they will finally adopt our first full platform that the platform committee is going to be working on for the next year. And they will then have the guidance to start running candidates. Hopefully it will happen early enough in the summer that we can get a bunch of candidates on the ballot. Because Tracy, you were correct. I think 14 federal candidates in a number of different jurisdictions is the lowest threshold the FEC has recognized. So to be recognized as a national party, you need to successfully get at least 14 different federal positions on ballots across the country in multiple states. And they can't all be states clumped in one region of the country. They need to be spread out across the country. And they all need to raise at least $5,000 in funds of support. And if you hit all those thresholds, then the FEC will recognize you as a national party. Until that point, we're just a party committee. We're a PAC. We're a political action committee seeking to become a party. And hopefully between now and then, we will create a number of bona fide state parties. And I hope personally that I will step away in 2026. That will be the point that I can step away and pursue other things. I hope I build enough structure that I will no longer participate.
But he's going to recruit other people so that they can.
Absolutely. I would love to help train people to organize better and to learn how to do deep relational organizing and bring people in their network into the party and teach them to build the connections they need, build the relationships they need, take the steps they need to start state parties, start regional parties, work on campaigns. As you noted, Tracy, it is hard work. I was a campaign manager for a congressional campaign in 2024 and was just exhausted by the end of the election season, I gotta say.
But it's necessary work. And speaking of dollars, mark your calendars, Saturday, August the 30th. I'm going to keep making this announcement. I don't care. Get used to it. I'm going to be making it August the 30th / reparations month. July is Medicare for All month. August is reparations month. But on the 30th of August, this channel, this podcast will be sponsoring a JFA Fundraising-A-Thon. No, I could not think of a better name for it. We will have special guests, entertainment. You can get involved by providing your beautiful singing voice, your poetry, your interpretive art, your stand-up comedy. If you're on the mailing list, you'll get a big, pretty flyer from me asking where you want to lend a talent. The goal is to raise $25,000 in one evening, so that when these candidates, that we can at least fund 5 candidates that will be running for office. That's the goal. That's the mission. We're going to do it. We're going to have fun that night. So just be on the lookout for that. And I'm going to leave it up for a little bit because that's what I do. I believe in self-promotion. I want to ask one last question, and this is wait a minute. Now look here, Rue by way MC or IE Tim. We're gonna stop this with this. Tracy's not wrong. Look, Mark Mixon 26, yes. Gia 26, yes. Joe 2026, absolutely. Tracy 2026, absolutely not. Absolutely not. We went over this. I went over I don't think I'm the right person to do it. Oh, well, look who decided. Check in. Parrish Sherman. Proud of my steering committee colleagues hearing Gia's thoughtful, well-spoken insights for the first time, along with other panelists. She should definitely run as a GFAP candidate. I agree. Would a funded think tank for JFA be useful? I have to think about that question because I think I know what think tanks are, but they all work so different from each other that I don't have an answer for you right now. That's something I would have to think about.
Can I say something about that?
Yes, please, because maybe you'll give me some insight. Because I'm like, well, you think? Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I think a think tank would be an absolute benefit to this movement. So, Tracy's absolutely right. Think tanks are diverse in what they do, how they function. But I mean, really roughly, think tanks hire a group of people who produce research and often do public-facing research and scholarship on behalf of a certain cause. So you could have a think tank that's very concerned, say, about environmental issues, and they're going to do research on environmental issues and try to produce maybe policy analysis or public-facing policy analysis on behalf of environmental justice. So there are hundreds, maybe thousands of think tanks in the United States, and a lot of political parties avail themselves of these think tanks and use research from people working in those think tanks. So, somewhere down the line, when we have the resources, the money, I mean, if we can find sponsors, like I think a JFA think tank would be a great service to our work. I mean, like if and this is kind of my passion in part, is if we want to do good policy and we want a good platform, we've got to do good research. Like there's no substitute for evidence-based policy analysis. And to do that, you need people who have the skills and the research background, who have access to data, and can compile information about how your party's functioning, what kind of policies are attractive, what kind of policies are effective. Tracy talked about reparation, August being Reparation Month. Like, reparation is the topic of my dissertation, and that is an issue that's receiving more and more analysis from policy analysts, from historians, from philosophers. We're kind of living in this new wave of reparationist advocacy, in part thanks to work that happened in Evanston, Illinois, which was the first city in the United States to do like citywide reparations for historic redlining, because Evanston, along with almost every metropolitan city in the United States, was deeply redlined. And so there's a really cool, there are really cool things to say about reparations. So a think tank for the JFA party could do work on effective reparations policies and so on. So I love that idea.
Thank you for explaining that to me, because I was like, well, you got because I think think tank, I think Project 2025. That's the first thing that comes to my mind, because technically it's a think tank. It's a think tank. Kind of, sort of, right? So that's where I guess because my mind goes to the extreme and not the normal. So thank you for like rearing in my understanding. So I briefly want to talk in these last couple of seconds or a few minutes about what this podcast is going to do in the future, because I think that's going to work with where the committee is trying to go. And you all can give me your thoughts on this. So one of the main thoughts is after the month of May, that first Saturday in June, there will not be a Justice is Here podcast. Instead, this channel will sponsor, for the fourth year in a row, my channel is sponsoring a Black Voter Forum. We will have 4 African-American women, all from various parties. So you'll see some Green Party, you'll see Democrats. Could not find a Black female Trump supporter. I really tried. Yeah, I tried. Couldn't find one. After that, no guest for June. So, oh yes, we do have a guest for June. I'm sorry. And then July, and I'm mentioning this for a reason. July is Medicare for All month. If you know me, you know I think Medicare for All is the paramount issue. People are still going bankrupt due to medical debt, and we've got to do something. So the whole month of July, Medicare for All month. August, I just mentioned it. August is reparations month. So we'll have people talking about reparations in August. September is guest host month. You will not see my face in September. You will see other guest hosts come in here and ask the questions that I ask. I'll be kind of backstage directing things, but keep in mind this: if you're a Justice for All participant, especially the steering committee, I'm going to start asking you, hey, you want to come on and host in September? I got these open. Because I think people need to see other faces besides mine. Maybe I'm being too hard on myself. I don't know. But September is guest host month. Because one of those Saturdays in September, someone is going to interview me. Good luck to you. But September is guest host month. All 4 Saturdays, somebody will be guest hosting. And then, like I said, we'll be preparing, we'll be working, we'll be doing everything we can. Remember, August the 30th, right? Get a piece of paper and a pencil, write it down. August the 30th, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This channel will sponsor a Justice for All Fundraising-A-Thon. We are planning on having singers, instrumentalists, dancers, stand-up comics, painters, trivia. We're going to have the whole kit and caboodle. Like I said, I'm preparing for a 3-hour show. It may be 2 actually, but I'm preparing for it. We're going to have a lot of fun. Our goal is to raise $25,000 for the Justice for All party so that we can fund these candidates. And somehow I got on another committee, but I'm going to do the best that I can. I'm going to do the best that I can to be the best convention committee member that I can be. I don't know, besides this podcast, which is a lot of work, but it is. I just think that we're ready to work. We see what needs to be done. Are there any, before I keep rambling, are there any other things that you all want to remind our viewing audience? I'm going to okay, go ahead, Mark.
If you're not already involved, if you have not stepped up to participate in the political process locally, do so. Do it today, do it tomorrow. It's never too late, but democracy is not a spectator sport. If you will not participate, nothing is going to change. And we can beat them. We can change the system. If we couldn't, they wouldn't spend so much time and money to try to stop us.
That point. That I wish I could point a finger and say that right there.
Yeah, I think that's right. I also just want to give a shout out to Jay, who's in the chat. If you haven't had Jay on the podcast, 100% should have Jay to come on and talk about.
Jay is next week. Jay is next week.
Oh, seriously? Yeah. Yeah, Jay. So I've been working with Jay on a team, crafting some political education content, and Jay is just like a treasure trove of really good like leftist political philosophy. Um, so yeah, someone that to definitely keep your eye on. But yeah, I think what Mark said is absolutely right. We're gonna keep building this, and I don't know. I just want to say to like everyone who's watching and to all the JFAers who've been involved in this or in the campaign last year, like you inspire me, and I'm grateful for your presence here.
I think that's enough. You guys do not want to hear me keep rambling on and on and on and on and on. So I'm going to be quiet. But I do want to have you all remember, please subscribe to this page. Share this episode with your friends, your family, that lady down the street that has a whole bunch of cats, your cousin that you haven't talked to in 5 years. Share, 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 share. I will see you tomorrow on my own show, Tracy's Week in Review, at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow. I will have a t-shirt giveaway. I'm telling you right now, I will have one. I'm going to go buy 2 t-shirts, one for Tobias, and the one that I will be giving away tomorrow. Tomorrow's question does have to do with this show today, kind of, sort of. But remember, tune in tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Tracy's Week in Review. We're going to have a big old happy party where I get to meet people in person at this convention. I'm super duper excited about it. Like Mark said, democracy is not a spectator sport. If there's not a justice for all party in your state, it's the perfect time to start one. Perfect time to start one. So I'm going to take everybody down. Matter of fact, I'm going to do this. I lied. I'm trying to get a local peace and justice org in the conversation. I think they are Democrats. So, well, Tobias, it'd be better if they were with the Justice for All party. You're welcome, and your t-shirt is on the way. So I'm going to take everybody down, do the outro. Again, I will see you tomorrow. Have a good evening. Thank you, gentlemen, for providing me this opportunity to speak to both of you. Have a great evening. Bye, everybody.